Let's start now. Hey.
Where are you?
People, hello everyone.
I want to work here.
Well,
that's nice.
we are here to continue with the Let's Global event hosted by TISA. They kindly asked me to remind you that TISA stands for Tokyo Tech International Student Association, and Let's Go Global is one of their events. Today are here to listen about United States of America from Kent Oshie. So just put your hands together.
Alright,
Sit down.
and next, this is just a slide about TISA that we have Let's Go Globals on Mondays. And so today I'll be presenting about Seattle, Washington. I think I was supposed to present about America, but America's too big of a country. It's too, I don't want to say amazing, but like it's too big. There are too many things to talk about. So I'm going to be talking about one part of America today, which is going to be Seattle. So this is what Seattle looks like. It's kind of like Tokyo. Like this could be like Mount Fuji, and this could be Shinjuku. It's very similar, but it's also a very different city, and I think it's one of the best cities to go travel to. Oh, whoops, go back. So to understand Seattle, you have to understand U.S. history. So America started in 1776, but when America started, everyone was living on the East Coast, and from 1800 to 1850, people started to move west to settle these lands, you know, like California, Oregon, Washington. And then in 1851, a group of people landed in Seattle and founded a city. And since then, it's been growing. And yeah, this is the American map as a whole. So as you can see, Washington State is just a really small part of it, because America is so big. In fact, it's so big that the distance from Hawaii to New York is actually longer than the distance from Seattle to Tokyo. So next, another part you have to understand about Seattle before you understand Seattle is immigration. So, do you guys know what the name of the ship is, or have you seen this ship before? Oh yeah, that's the name, but like I think you guys might have seen this ship, and it's in Yokohama, near Chinatown. And the interesting thing about this ship is that it used to serve the Yokohama to Seattle line back in the 1930s. And even before then, there's this Japanese shipping company called the NYK, which started the Japan to Seattle line back in 1896. And from 1896, a lot of Japanese people immigrated from from Japan to America. And also, as a side note, you may be wondering why a Japanese is living in America, but this is the same reason why. My great-grandfather immigrated to Hawaii, which is not Seattle, but it's America, in 1903. So I'm also a Japanese American like this. But it's not only the Japanese that immigrated to America. We're a land of immigrants. So a lot of people just immigrated to America. And also another really big group of immigrants is the Chinese, who came to Seattle probably even before the Japanese. And there's still many Chinese today. And even today, we have a lot of immigrants coming from all over the world. And they're all smart, and they work for companies that are like based in Seattle. So this brings me to my next topic, which is my people. As you can see here, Seattle is really diverse. We have 13% Asian population, which is, I think, very high in the United States, and 8% African American, and 7% Hispanic. So as you can see, it's very diverse. And this is exemplified in the Seattle City Council. So these people are the leaders of Seattle. And interestingly, this guy here is a council member, and he is half Japanese and half African American. And then this woman here, she is Indian and she is socialist. So this shows that Seattle is not only diverse culturally, but it's also politically very diverse. And we also have a Japanese American council member who's full Japanese American, and which surprised me too, because I didn't know that. And this is our mayor. His name is Ed Murray, and the very interesting thing about him is that he is gay. And the other interesting thing about him is that his husband is also Japanese, which brings me to my next topic, which is liberal Seattle. So Seattle is like one of the first states in America to legalize gay marriage and legalize marijuana. So there are a lot of lots of different kinds of people living in Seattle, including gay people and like people that have different sexualities, but we're accepting of them, and you could really see it that we're accepting when you come to Seattle. And also, we're very, very accepting of marijuana. So, like every time I walk to college, because I live near my university, but I could always smell like marijuana, so I smell it around once or twice a day. It smells like, to be honest, it smells like apple haichu, but I guess it depends on who you ask. And so we're so liberal that like some people think that we're almost like Europe because we're so liberal. So another thing is that we like to ride our bicycles a lot, which is kind of like, whoops, kind of like Amsterdam, because Amsterdam also has gay marriage, weed, and bicycles. I didn't change it. Okay. And then we're also very environmentally friendly. We love the environment because Seattle is in a state where nature is really important. So another interesting thing is a lot of people drive Toyota Priuses. Okay, so this brings me to my next topic, which is famous Seattle people. So I think you guys might all know this person. He founded Microsoft, and his name is Bill Gates. And this is another person that founded Microsoft with him, and his name is Paul Allen, and they're both really rich guys. Like, this guy owns, I think, like a whole football team and a soccer team in Seattle. And then another really famous person, if you guys are old, you might know this guy, but his name is Bob Sapp, and he's from Seattle. Like, he's originally a martial arts fighter, but then like he started to become very popular in America for his comedy. And then also we have this guy called Macklemore, who is one of the most famous musicians in America. And his music is really popular even today. And we also have famous Chinese American martial artist and actor, and his name is Bruce Lee. And he was in Seattle for a lot of his life. And then finally, we have a Japanese American. His name is Minoru Yamasaki, and he is famous because he's the one that designed the original World Trade Center towers. Next, I wanted to go over the sports scene in Seattle really quick. So we have the Seattle Seahawks, and by the way, just a side note about America. Baseball is really popular, but I think the most popular sport in America today is American football. So there's this championship game that happens every year called the Super Bowl, where the two strongest American football teams compete. And in both 2014 and 2015, the Seahawks got on to the Super Bowl. And they won in 2014, but they lost in 2015. And so I guess, yes, the Seahawks is one of the most powerful teams in America right now. And then we also have the Seattle Mariners, of which it's pretty famous for having Ichiro, who is a Japanese baseball player on it. But he left the team in 2012. But we also have another famous Japanese baseball player on the team right now, and his name is Iwakuma. And then we also have the Seattle Reign, which is the city's women's soccer team. And I think it's pretty well known today for having the Japanese soccer player named Kawasumi playing on the Japanese women's national team. And we also have a few other teams in Seattle, like the Seattle hockey team, and also the Seattle Sounders, which is Seattle's main soccer team. So next, I want to give you a brief rundown of what an entire year looks like in Seattle. So in the summer, like, we really enjoy going out into nature. There are tons of mountains you could hike and tons of trails that you could go to. And this is a picture from when I went hiking this summer, but as you can see, like, there's a lot of nature. And this place is really close by Seattle. It's only around maybe like 45 minutes away by car. But like, you can see like none of the city here, so I think that's something really unique. And another thing that happens during the summer is this festival called Seafair, in which the US Navy brings in their some of their fighters, and they fly the planes around Seattle, so you could hear like sonic booms like happening around the city, and it's really fun to watch. So like, this is when the group of fighter jets flew behind the Space Needle, which I thought was pretty cool. And then also, this is just another picture of some nature in Seattle, just to show that how nature is really close to Seattle. And next is the fall. So in the fall, the mountains become really beautiful. This is, again, not too far from the city, but this is not inside the city of Seattle. This is still part of Washington State, though. And then the waterfall that I just showed you in the earlier slide, this is what it looks like in the fall, because it rains a lot in the fall and the winter. In fact, I think Seattle is really famous for it being very rainy. And another interesting thing is, like, in the fall and winter, it rains a lot, but people don't have umbrellas because people are so used to the rain that they don't need umbrellas. So this is what a winter looks like in Seattle. So people can't drive in the snow. But I mean, it snows like once or twice a year, but like people aren't used to it. So this is what it looks like on the hills. And also in the mountains, people really enjoy skiing and snowboarding. And again, the mountains aren't that far away. At most, it's only like 2 hours to get to one of the best snow resorts in Seattle. So you could easily go skiing or snowboarding. And then the spring is also really beautiful in Seattle. In fact, I think my favorite season in Seattle is the spring. This is my school, which is called the University of Washington. And we have Japanese cherry blossoms here. These were actually donated from the city of Tokyo almost 100 years ago. And this is what it looks like in the spring. And just because I'm talking about my school right now, I just wanted to talk about my school a little more. So it's like, I think it's not very well known outside the United States, but inside the United States, it's pretty good for, I think, engineering and medical sciences. So it's kind of like Tokyo Tech, I guess. And also we have cherry blossoms too in the spring, so this is kind of like that also. And then we also have tulips, which bloom up in the north part of the state. And we have a tulip festival, which happens every May. And besides having a diverse population, we also have a diverse selection of landscapes. So we have both volcanoes, deserts, and rainforests in our state. I forgot to put a picture of Washington State on here, but Washington State is a big state. And then in the middle of Washington State are a big range of mountains. To the west of Washington State is the Pacific Ocean. And you know how the wind on Earth blows to the east, right? So there are a lot of clouds that come over from the Pacific Ocean, but the mountains in the middle of the state stop the clouds. So it's very rainy on the west side of the state, but it almost never rains on the east side of the state. So this is what the east side of the state looks like, and it's very dry. It's almost like a desert. Well, it is a desert, actually. And then in the middle of the state, we have the mountain ranges. And this is one of the most famous mountains in Washington State called Mount Rainier. And it has a coffee named after it that you could find in convenience stores. But yeah, this is kind of like almost like Mount Fuji, and it's really well known in Seattle. And there's also another famous mountain called Mount St. Helens, which erupted a few years ago, and that made the news too. And then last, we have the rainforest. You guys might think this is the Amazon, but this is not the Amazon. This is a rainforest we have on the western part of the state. And it's called a rainforest because it rains a lot, and that's how it became a rainforest. We don't have an Amazon, we have our own Amazon. And we have all these other companies too. These are, many of these are engineering companies. And a lot of smart people from around the world come to work at these. So maybe if you guys can't find a job, you should look to Seattle. And another interesting thing about Seattle is that we have a few notable startups and a very big startup community in Seattle. So like a really successful startup that came from Seattle is called Tableau. And another very interesting startup that's becoming very popular is called Planetary Resources, which I think is trying to go mine asteroids. And last, I want to talk about our favorite beverage, which is coffee, or just Starbucks. So we have the Starbucks headquarters in Seattle, and this is what it looks like. And it's in the south part of the city. But not only that, we also have the very first Starbucks in Seattle. This is what it looks like, and it's a very famous place in Seattle. And also we have, I think, a coffee roastery, which I haven't been to yet, but it's also a very, very famous place. And it's also operated by Starbucks. And like we have so many Starbucks in Seattle that there's almost one Starbucks for every 6,000 people. Because there are almost 100 of the Starbucks in the city. And last, we have probably one of the most unique Starbucks in the world in Seattle, which is this Starbucks. It's made out of shipping containers. And there's a theory that they decided to make it out of shipping containers because this is a Starbucks headquarters. And behind the headquarters, you could kind of see shipping containers, like this is a freight port. So like there was some executive looking out of the window, and they're like, let's make a Starbucks out of shipping containers. So this is what happened. So to sum it up, Seattle is basically engineering, nature, coffee, and rain combined together. It's a really wonderful place. And I hope you guys could come visit. And maybe if you come visit, I could take you around. But yeah, that's it for the presentation. Thank you. So if you guys have any questions about Seattle or just America in general.
Okay, any questions? Yeah.
You ride a bicycle a lot?
I used to, kind of. Like, I had a bicycle, and like we have this, all these trails in Seattle. So like, there's a trail that goes from my house to my university, and the distance from my house to my university is around 16 miles long, which is, I don't know how many kilometers, but it's pretty long. And it takes around an hour and 30 minutes to bike there, but it also takes around an hour and 30 minutes to go to my school by bus. So I figured it's better to exercise, so sometimes I bike from my house to my university.
Any other questions?
Are there still grunge people in Seattle? Oh, that's one thing I forgot to mention. But yeah, grunge is huge. Like, maybe it's because of the rain. But yeah, personally, like where I am in Seattle, I don't really see a lot of grunge, but I still think it's a very big part of the culture here. Yeah.
Are you part of any startup company?
I tried to, but I didn't make the interview. But there are a lot of startups. Like people at my university are like, they're starting startups, which aren't too big, but some of them are surprisingly successful. Yeah.
Maybe two more? No more questions? Go.
You study in Washington. Were you also born in Washington?
I was born in California, actually, but at the age of 2, I moved up to Washington, and I've been in Washington ever since. So I would consider myself to be more of a Seattleite than a California person. And that really shows because I love Seattle a lot more than California.
Last one. Last question. No more?
Yeah.
What's the difference between California and Washington?
There's a big difference. Like we're almost rivals. For example, like yeah, like so in San Francisco they have like the football team called the 49ers, which people consider to be a rival to the Seahawks, but the Seahawks always win. So they're not really rivals. And then like we also have a lot of software companies in Seattle, but California has a lot of software companies too. So it's very similar in that sense. But the big difference is that Seattle is a lot cheaper to live in than San Francisco. Because San Francisco is like insane right now. And then another big difference is we're both on the West Coast, but Seattle is so much further up north than California. Like California, it's sunny all year round, and like there's almost no rain. But in Seattle, we're so far north that like it rains a lot. It doesn't get that hot in the summer, which is good. So like we don't have droughts like California too. So California is going through a lot of troubles that we don't have. And also we're so far north that sometimes you could almost see auroras in Seattle. I haven't seen one before, but I heard that you can.
All right. No more? Okay, no more. So if that's okay, maybe we should thank our presenter for today and the class. We're going to give you some free time to chat with your talk about